weeks I've been happily playing Turrican Flashback, which is a collection of 4 Turrican games made by In Games. They shot me a review code to play on my Nintendo Switch, and I've been enjoying these games very much. It's a great collection, and it includes all kinds of niceties like being able to switch the wallpaper behind the games, because they're all 4x3. These are based on Amiga games, as well as Mega Drive or a Sega Genesis game and a Super Nintendo game. So it's all 4x3, and you can choose CRT filters if you would like to. They also have a very handy, I can't stress this enough, very handy rewind feature, which I employed a hell of a lot, I have to say. I know it's cheating, but these games are hard. All 4 of them are hard. The action is relentless, and they play a little bit like Metroid on speed. A little bit. Everything is so super fast in this game. All of the enemy types. You're going up against hordes of AI or biomechanically enhanced opponents. Creepy metallic creatures popping up out of caves and out of turrets and things. Like everywhere you look, every corner of each map, of every screen that you go onto, an enemy could pop out and start blasting away at you. Every projectile hurts. You have little energy bars that you can replenish because there are power-ups and pickups that you can pick up along the way. And your weapons are also augmentable, which is really nice. But each game has its own idiosyncrasies, except for the fact that each game is punishingly difficult. At least for me, it was almost like a fusion between a shoot-'em-up and a Metroid-style exploration game. Now, playing as this Turrican, you have all kinds of cool weapons at your disposal, lots of different laser shots and pulse shots, spread fire shots. You've got laser beams that will destroy some of the environment around you. There's lots of like little secrets all the way through these games, which is great. But you can also transform into a morph ball, very much like Metroid, except it's a little bit more chaotic, a little bit crazier. You can drop mines and bombs and stuff behind you. There's lots of carryover with abilities, but there's also lots to discover and find for yourself in each one of these games. Each one of them is absolutely worth playing, by the way. Turrican 1 is incredibly impressive because this was really early days in this kind of 16-bit expansive exploration type gameplay. It feels incredibly ambitious for that era, because I know that games didn't really have all of this cool scrolling technology and all of these different objects and colors and beautiful music. It looked like an arcade game that people could play at home. It started on the Commodore 64. Factor 5 handled the Amiga port. It just looks amazing. There's lots of great details and sprite work. Chris Hulsbeck's scores for all of these Turrican games are terrific, by the way. Really pointing towards what we play in modern games like Axiom Verge. You know, it's really cool fusion of synth and some electronic dance music stuff. There's some kind of pop waves all the way through it. Love the music in there. I was constantly surprised. But the first game, it really feels like the developers were putting the pieces together on what Turrican could be. It feels very loose. It feels a little unfocused, but it's okay because your experience with it is to kind of sort of unravel the mystery and go in every corner and shoot at everything until like power-ups might pop up, and try to avoid all of the missiles. Use that rewind button quite a bit, but it's still really cool. It's an incredibly solid opening shot from Turrican, which I thought was really slick. Turrican II obviously improves on not only the storytelling, it's not just an AI opponent that we're dealing with as it was in the first one. This time we're actually going up against this hideous creature called the Machine that has stopped a peaceful mission dead in its tracks and has basically converted the planet to metallic enemies coming at you. And you, playing as the heroic Bren Maguire, have to put on that Turrican suit and lay waste to all the bad guys and all the bosses that you're going to encounter, and keep that rewind button handy. Turrican 2 obviously added a lot more detail to the environment art and some of the enemy types and stuff. There's just a little bit more focus. So we have these games that sort of birthed on the Amiga and in the Commodore kind of landscape in that world, and they were ported to various systems. And then what happens is we jump forward to the launch of the Sega Genesis or Mega Drive, depending on where you're from, and we get Mega Turrican, which is probably the most straightforward game in this collection. It feels much more kind of plotted and linear. Very cool special effects, though. Lots and lots of awesome ornate details in the backgrounds and the environments. The sprite work is just incredible, and it has a great flow and a great feel. There's a maturity to the development on this game. Factor 5, the development company that became really famous when they started to do their Star Wars work, was handling the Turrican franchise at this time. There's a focused strength in the design, and it's really, really fun. I almost feel like all of the games are absolutely worth playing, but I think if you're brand new to Turrican, Mega Turrican is a pretty good starting point, even if it's kind of, weirdly spaced within the plot lines. You're again Bren McGuire in the suit, and you've got all these abilities and stuff, but it's just more streamlined and focused, and a little bit more in line with a lot of run and gun sort of exploration type games out there. So it's probably the most Metroid-like, I guess, is what I would say. And the other cool thing that's included in Mega Turrican is they added a little grappling hook. It's not incredibly useful in every situation, and sometimes you get sort of wedged into corners. You don't know quite where to go. But, I'm a fan of grappling hooks. I think almost every game could be improved if you added a grappling hook to it. Now, Super Turrican, as the name suggests, was made for the Super Nintendo. Factor 5, again, working on this game. And it's super fast. Character looks a little bit more squat-like. The colors seem to pop out of the screen a little bit more, kind of Super Nintendo-ish. But it also has Dolby surround music and sound effects, so it sounds fantastic. And that speed and that ferocity and that addictive kind of quality of Turrican remains. Something that's interesting here about these Turrican games, I have the analog Mega SG and the analog Super NT, the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis FPGA systems that Analog has made. And they've included Turrican games as part of the package with each of those systems. You get Mega Turrican with the Mega SG, and you get the Super Turrican 1 and Super Turrican 2 with the Super NT. And there is a noticeable absence of Super Turrican 2 included in this flashback collection from In Games. It's disappointing that it's not there because it would kind of give you the full scope of the game. There were also some unreleased Turrican games that maybe they could have put in there. They could have done a little bit more of a history, a little bit more of a museum on the development. It would have been nice to have some interviews with these developers and get a sense of who they were as people and what it was like building these games in Europe at the time, because these Turrican games really shocked the game-playing world in the 90s. And I remember reading about them, but I didn't play these games back then. So I've just been recently exposed to these Turrican experiences. And they're really, really fun. I think this collection is absolutely worth the money. I think if you're a fan of games like Metroid or Axiom Verge, and there's tons of these Metroidvania type titles out there and lots of great shooters. It's not quite the same thing as playing a Metroid. You don't get all the mapping and all the stuff. It's a lot of just hunting and pecking and trying to get from point A to B and then get into boss fights and stuff. But God, they're really fun and they're so well made. And I really enjoyed this collection, and I like all the little extras. The save states and the rewind features definitely came in handy. And I think this collection runs terrifically, whether you play it in handheld mode or you throw it up on the big screen. I was very impressed and very pleased to jump back into Turrican Flashback. I'm going to give this collection an 8 out of 10.